Okay, we should be ready to go. Oh yeah, we should be. Set to go, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first thing on the agenda is presentation from Sir.
So yes, yes. Can we have Serpent here with us here? Was that is going to be presenting on a proposed economic development plan tonight, Mr. Chairman. And I'm just going to give her the ability to share her screen. Is that okay, Lizette?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yep. And then we should be ready to go.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Sounds good.
Yep.
Well, thanks for having me tonight, everyone. My name is Lizette Gonzalez. I am a senior comprehensive planner at SERPED. And as Mike mentioned, I'm here to talk about the proposed Dayton Economic Development Plan. We'll go through some quick introductions, kind of what SERPED is, what we do, how we do it, and then go into a little bit of what is the economic development plan without getting into the nitty-gritty, but kind of getting an overall sense for what it entails, what it might look like, and how the town would play a role in creating that. So as I mentioned, I work with SERPED. We're the regional planning and economic development district for the region. Dayton is one of our communities, and we really like to ensure that the plans that we create, the products that we create for our communities, reflect the needs of the community, both as priorities and goals for the future, right? And with that, these plans should also be able to be implemented in a way that works for these towns. So we take into account like capacity, funding, opportunities, and all those types of different things that can get really complex and convoluted when you're looking at such a long-term strategy. So when it comes to an economic development plan, I could go into the deep details of what types of data we're going to look at, how we're going to look at it, and the different tasks that it entails, really. But I want to break it down into three kind of categories that I can illustrate to you guys really easily through some of the other projects that we've completed. So branding and data, that's one of them. That's this little arrow here. Workshops and public engagement, so the public feedback that we need to validate our findings and really ensure that what we're putting in this plan reflects those priorities and the needs of your community. And lastly, the final product of the plan itself. And though it is the final product of our work, it's really just the beginning of your economic development strategy. At least that's the way I like to think of it. So with branding and data, we really like to create a unique identity for the project. This helps in two different ways. When it comes to public engagement, people easily see it and they're like, oh, that logo, that's a part of the Dayton Economic Development Plan. It helps us create an online presence that people recognize, that people know is credible. With that, so we also use our website to host online activities that are critical for sharing information, such as the data that I'm going to talk about, but also gathering some of that really important public feedback. So data can be very complex, it can be a little convoluted, and depending on the way you present it, it can be a little confusing. But the way we like to use data is to translate it in a way that's friendly, it's approachable, and it really gets to the point of what a community is trying to do. So I'll show some examples, one of which is the Mattapoisett Master Plan. It should be pretty obvious from the get-go that that logo is what we use to kind of set the stage for all our kind of products, everything we put out there. When it comes to the website, this is kind of the hub for all activity. We use that logo across our social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook. And as you can see there, our posts kind of riff off that theme. And that's something that people know relates to the plan. It talks about those things and people immediately kind of recognize it. And if you'll notice here on the right side of the screen, I kind of outlined the different funding sources to show that this tends to be, a lot of these projects actually tend to be an effort on behalf of local communities, state and federal sometimes, and SERPED as well. So we have as much to benefit from putting these plans out there because they all achieve a regional goal of simply improving quality of life for our communities. Data, we like to talk about the Deacon's School redevelopment study. It was a really unique study, but really shows kind of how data can look in real life. We used some information from an economic development strategy that the town created that showed industry trends. So where is the most opportunity in town? What's going to be the biggest demand in a few years and now, right? And we found that, office using manufacturing spaces were going to be in the most demand. And what all of these numbers ended up saying to us and what we wanted to be able to show to the community was that they could have something like this. So we took a similar scenario of kind of flex industry lab space in Attleboro and kind of modeled it into our site and how that would look. And when we presented this scenario to the town, what we wanted to really share was what type of footprint it would have, what type of tax revenue it would bring, and then the estimated number of jobs that it would bring to the town. So how it would benefit. And this kind of real life tangible scenario was something that came across really, really nicely. So just a way to show how data can be visualized in one of these scenarios. Public engagement, really important when it comes to creating buy-in for a lot of these plans. Sometimes you'll think of like innovative ways to increase either visibility, marketing, or just policies that you need to implement to make yourself more economic development friendly. And sometimes this does require a lot of public buy-in. So with that, we kind of take it from a couple different angles. One is an advisory committee. They're kind of our go-to feedback mechanism with the town. So we'll recruit and coordinate these meetings, establish some kind of setup where we come to you with an idea of what the next workshop might look like, and you're able to give us feedback whether or not that's something that you think would be successful, and give us your opinions as well on other activities that might work. We create online and in-person workshops. Given the pandemic, we found that a lot of success with those virtual setups, not only getting people feedback through surveys, through different types of activities, but also workshops. And as we move forward into the future, we'll go into that format of kind of hybrid in-person online events. So people have that option and that flexibility. We find that people love that. In addition, those workshops tend to be that more formal setting, but we like to provide more casual ways to interact with these types of plans, and that's pop-up. So if there's an event going on in town, we'll bring a table, we'll bring some materials that kind of share information about what the plan is, what we're hoping to do, and if there's any feedback, we'll bring that with us, like a survey or something like that people can do on the spot. And then lastly, presentations to boards and committees, kind of like how we're doing tonight, just to give you guys updates, let you know where we're at, and what the progress looks like. So this here is another master plan that I want to highlight, North Attleboro. They have a really great setup for public engagement. It models some of our other master plans as well. And this is a screenshot of one of their recorded virtual meetings, talking about land use, housing, and economic development. This meeting, well attended, and I also want to highlight the survey that they shared during this meeting, the results of it. They had over 900 responses to it, and they were able to kind of use this as a way to start conversation during the meeting and validate these findings. Like, is it true? Does everyone want to see more small businesses in town? And the resonating response was that, yes, that is true. We do want to see that. And that's a really valuable, small but meaningful thing to have happen during a workshop. And again, building off our social media, but using it as a way to keep people interacting with our plans, with our materials, all the things that we put out there, just using it as a way to build build up these events and get people interested. And lastly, like I said, the final plan, I like to think of it as the beginning of this big strategy because it is a big endeavor. And I like to think it serves two different goals. Attractive, final document. It's kind of like a marketing piece for you guys. You're serious about economic development. You want things to change and you want things to happen. And this plan should also lay out goals and strategies to tell people how you plan on getting it done. I like to think of our goals and strategies as kind of like a recipe for success in planning, because a goal is like a broad idea, something that you want to achieve, and the strategies are like the steps you need to take in order to get there. And of course, it should support implementation. We recently completed the Norton Master Plan, and this one here, as you can see, has a bunch of different elements, one of which is economic development. We use this structure of goals and strategies to break down the plan itself and how people can see changes going to happen. It's a slow process, I have to admit that, and I think people recognize that. But I think the path that this plan lays out is realistic. It sets timelines, as you can see in that blue box there. I don't know if you can see my mouse, I'm circling it. It shows priority, it shows responsible parties, performance measures, and success stories if there are any similar situations. So just a kind of sample of what that product might look like when it comes to creating those goals and strategies and how we try to help you guys really implement these types of plans. This kind of brochure here is another final product that we created for a community, Middleborough. They're trying to pass a 40R bylaw. And when it comes to buy-in, these types of things are really important. In addition to this brochure, we created a video for the town that they could kind of share to get more conversational about what this bylaw means for them, where it would be applied, and how it would affect them. So just one way of visioning those final products and how marketable they are. So I want to keep in mind that these plans and the kind of sample products I showed you guys are examples of what we would use to create the Dayton Economic Development Plan. I'm happy to answer questions now. I've also included my email here. If you guys have any questions that you come up with later and you think about it and you want to email me, I am available there as well.
Elizabeth, in regards to rail line coming in from Florida, has Serpent done a community impact study on that? The impact that that line, that MBTA station that's going in Fall River will have in this area, in particular Somerset and Dayton.
I see. So I don't believe there's been a specific plan that touches on that. I know communities, when it comes to MBTA and rail lines coming in, they do have to do those priority development areas with that kind of thought process in mind. And we did help communities create those and update those over the past few years. So we can reference those if that's something that you're looking for.
So the state hasn't done anything like that then?
Like I said, the priority development areas is something that SERPED, along with MBTA, knowing that these are kind of like the projected scenarios, helped communities create.
Now, you would have contact with people at the state level or the MBTA that could help us with that?
I know I didn't work personally on those specific plans because they were updated. I believe the last time was 2018. I could be wrong on that, but we could definitely reach out if that's something that you guys are interested in looking
So I'm not sure if Serpent was involved or not in the 2014 Dayton Master Plan, but there's an economic development section in there.
Yes.
Was that something that you participated in or Serpent participated in at that time, or was that done outside of Serpent? Or have you seen it?
It was before my time. Mike, I don't know if Serped was a consultant for that economic or that master plan.
Yeah, like I believe the 2014 master plan was actually done by a firm, I'll call it VHG. They're based out of Watertown, but I know Serped as a result, and as part of other efforts that they've gone through that, and they, like have identified, I believe, like how the recommendations for zoning analysis, that is still a priority. And how the emphasis, on the Zeneca sites, and then on the Mannheim auto auction up on William Street was a priority as well, to look at any type of overlay districts as well. And if we move forward with like an economic development plan, those would all be part of it as well.
Would you be able to provide us a copy of that, at least that section of the?
Yes, no, absolutely will. Yes.
We could review it.
Yep.
Determine what is still applicable.
Yep.
What maybe not, what we should keep, what we may not.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Do that. Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Other than us just individually or as a group reaching out to you, I mean, what would you recommend as our next steps to take advantage of services that are being available to us?
Could you repeat the end of that question? I'm sorry.
What would be the next step? Next steps that you would recommend for us to start taking advantage of the services you are making available, so that we could, start drafting something that we can make a little bit more concrete. I mean, what you're saying sounds wonderful. Translating that into something that's concrete that we can move forward is obviously where we need to go next, and probably need your help.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, I mean, the next step is really establishing that scope, which would cover all of these things that I talked about, but it's really, breaking down what we would be looking at a little bit further. So obviously, it sounds like that land use element is really important to you guys. So something that would be included in that scope, and really refining that, reaching a point, and then kind of like signing a contract and finding the funding for it.
And then as a follow-up on that, for the last month and a half, we've been looking into community compact funding through the state best practice program. And as a result of those efforts, we found out that all the grant funding, the $2 million in grant funding that the state made available, at the end of August, has already been spoken for and has already dried up. So, actually, one of the opportunities that we, as a town, has through Serped is using, applying for what they call DLTA funding. And it's funding that is actually held by Serped, based on funding that Serped gets from the state. And I think Serped, based on what I have already heard in my conversation with them, they're open to working with us. And actually making available DLTA funding.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. It is like a competitive application process that will, like Mike said, it's a funding source that we get through the state, and we distribute to our communities. So it's good that we're talking about these projects now, because when the time comes to submit applications, we kind of know where things might fall.
In terms of the roll-up timeline of applications and just how that application timeline would coincide with that, with everything, with everything we're trying to get off the ground here, what does the DLT application timeline look like?
So usually we get notice in December of funding, what that number is going to look like. And then after that, we have a month or two of open applications. We'll review them. So I would say early 2022, maybe like end of winter kind of thing, if not sooner.
Okay. Thank you.
Liz, has Serpent done much work with the town of Somerset?
Yes, oh yeah, we do.
And who would be your contact person there?
In Somerset?
Yes,
Well, we tend to engage the planning staff pretty consistently, depending on what type of project we're looking at. Are you looking for some type of collaborative engagement with them?
we may down the road. That's why I'm asking. So you work mostly, do they have a planning, an urban planner, or do they
It did.
have a board?
So yeah, they had a planner up until about a month and a half ago. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
I like, and she's no longer working for the town.
Are they going to fill that position?
I haven't heard.
I have not heard either. I know they haven't filled it yet. But I mean, when it comes, I feel like you're trying to get at some type of future collaboration with the town. With these types of things, we do identify opportunities where partnerships and collaborations would be beneficial. So we're not just thinking Dighton as a single entity. We try to think of how you can benefit from working with your neighbors and how you guys can work together, whether that be through some kind of infrastructure expansion. Oftentimes when it comes to major projects, construction projects, we do try to see where collaboration like that is possible.
See, in regards to that, it's come to my attention that there is great focus at the state level of regional partnerships. And Dighton is in a unique situation where both Somerset and Taunton have reached out to us. And what we are trying to determine is what is the best way to go. And obviously dialogue and negotiations are going to be key. And also an independent third party, our Serpent, would be huge in helping us in making recommendations based on studies that you do. One of the things we don't have in this town is an urban plan. We have a lot of volunteers who have given up their time and trying really hard, but they don't have a lot of formal planning, training in urban planning.
For
So
sure.
my
Yeah, I hear that.
understanding is that not only would we need to talk to people in the two towns, but also would you be staying on to assist us in the development of those partnerships?
It would depend if that's something that's included in the scope of services, or if that's something that the town would like to extend after the fact of the plan's completion. It's not off the table, but it's definitely something that would have to be discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that's where the economic development plan and what we, like, actually what we set out to do in the plan is gonna start with. Like in the areas that we look to, or potentially want to look at in terms of zoning, all of that is gonna help to inform what, actually kinds of infrastructure we need to support, all the type of zoning that, in the area. So if we're looking, just as an example, on Route 44 in Dighton, we don't have any sewer infrastructure up there. And that's something that if we zone it, industrial, just as an example, in order to attract, like hopefully any type of industry or businesses that we want, we're gonna, have to complement that effort with sewer. Like, and all that comes into funding and the type of regional partnerships that we're talking about.
Yep, exactly.
Are there any other questions on the economic development plan?
Okay,
Thank you.
just one, can we get a copy of that? Like,
Oh, like if this is the PowerPoint?
just to take with us or get it?
Oh, yeah, like I'll like email it out. Yeah. Yeah, like I thought like I emailed it in advance, like I can send it again though, for sure. Yeah, so like we'll be in touch, probably in the next like month and a half, but we appreciate everything as always. Thank you, Lizette.
For sure, sounds good. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, or if you have any, detailed things that you want to talk about, feel free to email me. Both myself, and some of my colleagues would be working on this as well. So it would be, you'd have a good team behind you for sure.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
you too. Okay.
That was the next one. Direction that we're gonna go.
Not that, we need to have a discussion about her, but.
Yep.
Did anybody have, I'm just still struggling about how this turns from great, we're offering to help to.
Yep.
How we utilize the help.
Yeah, they-
Because as you said, we're not urban planners and I have no background in it, so just trying to make that. Start
Yeah, like-
process rolling, and I don't wanna just say, oh, this is, we'll talk about it and let somebody else do the work, so I don't know how, I'm just trying to struggle with, how we make this start.
So, so probably I would say like after the first part of the calendar year, like Serped will be back in touch with us in terms of asking us and all that to apply for DLTA funding. Like on the fact that we're already in the queue, so to speak, on this issue, I've already had a dialogue and a conversation. I think is a really helpful and good thing that we're on the radar about this now. So then after the first of the year, like we apply and
What is that? You said DL?
It is like district local technical assistance funding. Yeah. So usually DLTA grants are up to about $25,000 to $30,000, which would be the funding that would fund the economic development plan, like the one she has mentioned.
And what things do we have to have in a row so that when that time comes, we're in a position to say, here's what we're applying for, what kind of information do we need to have?
We need to have like a scope basically written. And essentially while we want to come up with the economic development plan, we can, highlight and reference our master plan and the goals that we still, essentially, still need to be done for my master plan, which are a lot. And then we could talk about the growth that Dayton has had in the last 10 years and how if we don't plan for it, we are gonna just get walked over. And at this point, we really need to plan and manage that growth forward. I think all those things like wrapped up in a scope and a narrative, I think we'll be in a pretty good place.
More than detail.
Yeah, I applied for like a DLTA grant before, and it's about 3 to 5 pages, but it's not anything.
Some detail, it's not just
It's not very intensive, but we have to provide some backup.
sounds like you've done this before yourself.
Haven't done it before, but I have worked with the town of Raynham, who's going through the process with Serped.
Okay.
Yes. I think it would be great for us to think about what the scope of, what our goals should be, what we envision our, our town of Dayton to be balancing the preservation of green space and the environment, but also making for a healthy local community business environment, right? And how do we leverage, Route 44, Route 138, those transportation areas, as well as the train, access ways that we have. So I think looking at all of that, right, and thinking for the future of Dayton, how do we grow in a smart way, right?
One of the big things that is put a brake on development in Dayton may be ending relatively soon, and that's water in South Dayton. They're looking at the possibility of adding 2 additional wells. And once those are negotiated, one is an active well. If that happens, then the water district is going to be almost forced, because they're getting pressure for some developers already, to end the ban. And with that, at least one development is probably going to happen. And the other one is Forest Hills, is in long, drawn out affair, and who knows when that will come to fruition. That's potentially 125 houses. The other unit is Strawberry Hill.
Strawberry Fields.
Fields is how many?
Oh, geez, you have to ask me. I'm not sure
Yeah, so.
off the top of my head.
Another at least 25 to 30
Right
houses.
around there.
As a result, you're talking 200. That impacts a lot of things in this town.
So do you think that we need additional business tax revenue? Is that helpful for the town? I mean, to offset the demands on the town of, all this increased housing?
Absolutely, yes.
See, the tax rate, people are already complaining. Seniors are really starting to feel the pinch. So we have to go in that direction.
If I may, one of the things when I was working with the master planner for Raynham, I said to him, how have you been so successful, right, in Raynham, attracting so many businesses? And he said that their forefathers had the vision of putting in sewer and water along Route 44, and that enabled business to grow, right? And so.
Yeah, like right there in that part of town,
They made those capital investments, right? And that allowed businesses to be able to come in. Like that Paramount Drive behind Walmart, right, which is all Johnson & Johnson. I mean, there's beautiful industries in there. Be great to have something maybe like that. I don't know.
I just ask, do we, and we talked about this in like a previous meeting, I think, which is about where our responsibilities lie, where other committees' responsibilities lie. When are we kind of stepping on things that we shouldn't? In terms of residential developments in town, they will proceed regardless, yes or no, to whatever extent speed they proceed, without our help or impedance, right? It's not, is that something that is really something that we want to be thinking about?
Well,
I mean, there are a lot of factors that play into that, but specifically, this development's going up, that development's going up, is that really a discussion topic?
as Mike said, zoning will have a role in that. But obviously, we can advocate. We're also reading open space and working together with various groups. Because one of the things that this town faces, such as the urban planning situation, we have a lot of people who are working part-time, like we are, And they are straight up, their own personal lives, they're trying to do good things for the town. So there's strength in numbers. If we're gonna get hung up on turf, then it'll be hard. But people say, look, we have all these people here, we have people who have great experience as a John in community partnerships and some urban plan, I don't know, he can explain to what degree. But obviously, he brings assets to the table that would help the different groups.
Oh, yeah, no, I was thinking long-term, like down the road and zoning and other factors, open space. I was thinking more about specifically like the developments that you mentioned that if water being conflicted, you're gonna start proceeding phase. I was thinking, you know, that's probably not something like specific items that are in the works right now. That I didn't know if we should really not be talking about that.
They are in the works, they're kind of foregone conclusions. But it's those type of things, because the water especially is going to impact other projects that aren't on the table. You know, like I talked there, and we'll see next month, when we see all the open land and where that land could go and what it could be. And do we help it go in a direction that's in the best interest of the town? When you get in a situation where you have a piece of farmland, 50-acre piece of farmland, that could be home to Bambi, conservation, it could be a solar farm, it could be a 40B development. So do we act ahead of it? Do we try to work with the other players, whether it be conservation or CPC, or does the town get into the solar business and buy the land and then try to bring in a developer to put in a solar farm? And we would own the land, so that solar company would pay rent. They would have a pilot agreement with the town. Do we get into that? That part, we advocate with the town fathers. You want to go that route, these are the advantages, these are the disadvantages. There's a lot of land in this town that could go either way. And bringing the players all to the table to have those discussions.
No, that I think that's
Yeah.
I just meant like, you mentioned two specific things.
Well, I mentioned those because they are going to have an immediate impact, and there isn't a whole lot we can do about that. But to prevent or to control our future, we really have to do it. You know, I know a piece of land in town right now, there's huge negotiations over that and an additional issue. And this piece of land could go in any of those different directions. And we want to stay ahead of that. And you know, that situation may be just easily taken care of by a conservation purchase. Or maybe that land, like a piece of property on William Street, if we can negotiate, maybe that becomes the land for the new fire station. You know, how can we bring these different players together and also to motivate them? Because as I mentioned in Serpent, and we had a congressman talking about this as well. There's this push for regional agreements. There's this tug and war between the south and the north for Dayton. Something that we have to, as a town, decide which side we're gonna go, how it works, and that's where I think the chamber, and Serpent especially, is gonna be important. I mean, we can look at things from dollars and cents, and we can look at things politically. But the one thing, correct me if I'm wrong, there aren't a lot of urban planners in this town. So a lot of people are making decisions based on their heart, their gut, not from their training. So,
Is that not why we're,
Exactly.
that's why we need to, do what we're here to do, I think, and I'm happy to be here.
it's huge. You know, as I said to someone the other day, we're saving the town at least $90,000 a year for an urban plan. By us doing what we're doing, at a time when money is tight and stuff. Really.
Before we move on to the next item, any other comments or discussions about server presentation or?
The only thing that I think would be helpful is if we could review that master plan,
Yes,
probably is the next, because that might give us some direction.
that's a good point.
Because I haven't, to be honest with you, that plan was written in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And my short time on the board, and from everyone I've talked to, they don't even talk about it.
Oh, great.
I was wondering if, I was gonna go home and go online and try to look at other towns' plans too. And just see if it gives ideas or inspiration about, maybe there are some features in their plans that we are attracted to and, are aligned with what we're working on and would want to make sure we include that in the proposal as far as the scope.
Particularly Norton, you mentioned Norton is just when that was just
Yeah, right.
completed, so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The next item of business, old business correspondence, Joe is not here tonight, that might be because of the confusion with the dates tonight. So the item was the planning board represented to the commission. I know that I did watch the last planning board meeting, and they did approve having a representative here, and I did appoint Joe as that representative. So I guess that is settled, and he will be a representative from the planning board to our group.
Do we have to approve that? Does this, well, not we, but does this board have to approve it?
No, I don't,
I think we requested it,
yeah,
and we did not specifically say who.
Yeah.
We left it to them to appoint whomever they so choose, so that we didn't have to come back and say, okay, we accept Joe. That would be my recollection, so.
But do we have to vote to approve it as a designated planning board position?
I think
I
that
thought we
we
did.
said we did, yeah.
We did.
We do it subject to their,
I want to pull up the meeting minutes again, where
I don't have it,
is it?
I don't remember, and I don't have it in there as this. Yeah, no, we will vote at the November meeting to approve this as a permanent position,
Okay,
if the planning board gives initiative.
Okay,
so they did give the planning board did give a position, does anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Second? Any discussion about? Okay. So all in favor of accepting the planning board's nominee and the position to be a voting member of the Industrial Commission, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The next item of old business was the application to the Community Compact Best Practices Plan, which you just alluded to recently.
yeah, the $2 million that the state had allocated for the best practices program at the beginning of FY22 that was utilized and spoken for essentially in the first like 3 weeks that the rolling application was open. So that's why in our conversations with SERPED, we've been placing a greater focus on the DLTA funding at this point.
So is that annual? Is that something that we would do in position next year we could try for?
Yeah, like it is an annual program that is always funded. My hope though, is based on the demand that the Executive Office of Administration Finance heard. At some point in the fiscal year, they'll open it up again. After hopefully they might receive like additional funding through a supplemental budget. Like, and that's what I would hope for based on the demand, because everyone is talking about it.
Any other questions? Next item on the new business is to introduce, is it Gigat?
Gigat.
Gigat.
That's okay.
Title Chamber of Commerce. And if you want to give us an overview of what the Commerce does, Chamber of Commerce
I put
does.
together a couple of bullets if you'd like. Good, because this will keep me focused. I just want to let you know that our family has owned property in Dayton for the past 74 years. So I've been a resident of Dayton, born and raised here, went to school and through the Dayton school system and graduated from Northeastern University. I have a long career in information technology. I was a computer geek my whole career. And I worked for a number of Fortune 500 companies. I traveled a lot in the country and internationally, helping companies large and small be more innovative and be more profitable. And now I'm retired and I'm a volunteer. I'm a SCORE volunteer, actually. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with SCORE, but it is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. And we offer free consulting to small businesses, in any business that comes to us actually, to help them either start a business or to manage their business. So that's what keeps me out of trouble during the day. And I'm on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce and also the ambassador for the town of Dayton here. And that's what got me interested in really meeting Mike and working, seeing how I could work with the town in my role through the chamber. I'm also on the executive board of the chamber, and so I participate in their strategic plan. And I wanted to let the board, the commission here know that we've just finished the strategic plan for our chamber. And one of the things that is a high goal for us is to become less Taunton-centric. So historically, the chamber was all about Taunton and really Raynham, whereas really we represent not only Taunton and Raynham, but Dayton and Berkeley. And so our president is from Berkeley, I sit on the board and said I'd take Dayton, and our goal really is to notify, I guess, get engaged with Dayton businesses in a more holistic way in how, we can really foster a better business relationship, how the chamber can help them through the various plans that they have. So I'm thrilled to be here representing the chamber, and our new president, if I may, has been in this job for 1 year. She's highly professional and I would say energetic. She absolutely wants to foster greater business community in amongst the Taunton area. So anytime that you guys are in the Taunton area and you want to stop by the chamber, say hi to her. She's incredibly, I would say, optimistic about our future.
How often do you meet? As the Chamber of Commerce.
So we meet, we have a monthly executive board meeting, and we have a monthly board of directors meeting. So
Twice open to the public, or?
no, not really. We always invite guest speakers if they would like to come. So if you would ever like to come and address our board, you're more than welcome.
Would you be interested in helping create a small business forum in Dayton?
So that is on our strategic plan, actually, for the chamber. What we want to do is create these action groups that are industry focused. So we tiered it in different ways. So industry, as you know, there's a big cannabis industry. Like, I know there's one happening here in Dayton. There's other ones, two in Dayton. There's a number of them in Raynham, and they're in as well as in Taunton. So we said, hey, let's get everybody together in that industry. Have them talk about what those issues are. We also talked about doing it geographically, so that we would get a group of businesses for Dayton or Raynham or Taunton, and then talk about the local issues for them. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do as part of this, being retired, I do have some time, so I don't have a problem with helping canvas small businesses and that sort of thing, to really find out what the small business community is looking for, not only individually, but together as a group. So I see that as part of my role.
So we could do at either, there are many venues, a forum where the groups could come together and talk about their concerns and share them with us.
Right.
Maybe some of the other players in the town that, we might want to have come to that meeting as well.
And let me just ask, maybe you know better than I would, because I actually don't know the answer to this. To what extent is there a home waste industry business? Is it kind of?
I heard that there's a lot, but I don't know if, statistically, I don't know if that data is kept, is it? The home business, with taxes might have it.
It's really hard to track if it's, if it's grandfathered, if it's, if it's a use operating under the radar or anything along those lines. So it's hard to track. We, the town, at probably the beginning of next month, it's going through its relicensing process for a lot of our businesses. So we're going to be able to see, and actually have an up-to-date, an up-to-date database and listing of everyone at that point too.
I just didn't want them to be overlooked.
Agreed,
I think
yeah.
we focused on commercial property as our
Yep.
main factor, and we just kind of forget about them.
That's right.
Wouldn't either DOR or Secretary of State have that data?
Secretary of State would.
Only if they've registered,
Yeah.
right? I mean, every small business person, as a school counselor, I counsel small business people to say, you have to go to your town and register as a business in town. And so that is the official record, I would say, because a lot of small businesses don't have to incorporate, right, or be an LLC. They can be a sole proprietor, and so they don't have to register with the secretary.
Oh, sole proprietor doesn't?
They register with the town.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the opportunity for us could be, if we ever set something like this up, is we just word of mouth, get it out there that this is not just open to commercial properties and small business in that sense, but it has a broader focus. And
Absolutely. And if there's anything that you need from the chamber in terms of pushing out notices to social media and that sort of thing, we have a social media presence and we do weekly email blasts and that sort of thing. So, if they're a member of the chamber, they would be subscribed to that. So we would absolutely do that if you needed anything like that.
is there a cost for an individual member of business to join the chamber?
Yes, yes. So our cost right now is $287 for a small business. And then our fee schedule is on our website, but it's based on number of full-time and part-time employees. So the bigger you are, the higher the membership is. And the town of Dayton has been a member since 2019. So we're glad to have you.
Now, regards to the chamber, do you have town representatives that, how do you, I know how you're dealing with Dayton now, but how do they do it in Berkeley and Raynham? Do you have a forum or a group that you meet with, or do they have a liaison from the town who meets with the chamber?
So that would be me for Dayton,
Right.
and it's our president that does it for both Taunton and Raynham.
Oh,
She is a Berkeley resident, so I'm not sure she wants to be the ambassador for her hometown. I'm not sure. I haven't felt her out yet. She's been very busy, but we don't have one yet for Berkeley.
now, does she meet with a specific person in Taunton? Or does
Yes,
like,
she meets
would
with
this
the
be-
mayor.
With the mayor?
Yes, and she also meets with Bill Rolfe, who, Bill Rolfe is he is the director of their economic development. And so I also have a relationship with Bill Rolfe as well, and they run their economic development.
And his
And,
name
you know,
is-
they do a lot of grant writing, they do a lot of grant funding, so they've done a lot during COVID, they did a lot of grants for local businesses, especially restaurants and that sort of thing, so the city got a big grant and then doled it out. So yes, that's, I see that as my job, is to help, to listen and then help bring these issues or needs to the chamber and see how we can collaborate. In Raynham, we're working with Graham Waters, who is the town manager there, and also Bob Iafredi. He's the building commissioner, and he is actually the one that has been working with Serped on their master plan. So Bob Iafredi actually asked us to start to work with Serped to get our input into the Raynham master plan from a business and commercial perspective.
I think a forum would really generate interest and support for what we're doing here too.
Yeah, I think if it was something ongoing, not just a one-off, but if it was recurring, I think that would be something that we can sustain, that, you know, and obviously more people would participate on that, on ongoing, where they could kind of drop in as they have specific needs maybe that they need to raise, as opposed to, you know, just a one-time offering of, you know, your ideas or what your issues are.
The only thing that I'm getting a little nervous about is there are so many needs. We're talking about so many things that we gotta stay focused on, you know, picking one item that we're gonna do in the near future. Else we could be all over the place.
Well, as a, I don't know the answer to this either, but, for talking about industry specifically, mentioned cannabis, agriculture, are there many players in agriculture in Dayton, or is it just a small number?
Small number, but
Small number.
the thing with that, and unfortunately Lauren's not here tonight. One of the reasons why there was much advocacy for the Bristol Aggie to be involved is there are a lot of things that the Aggie has to offer through their county extension services that Dayton isn't even aware of. And their superintendent talked to me about that. There are many services that they would like to make the residents aware of. Secondly, recently I've had some discussions with people who have said, with the Aggie, that as you can see is growing tremendously, be interested in either purchasing or renting, leasing some of our farmland for their own uses, whether it be their land program or even their arbor program. So those are the kind of discussions we need to have with Lauren and maybe a bigger discussion with their superintendent. You know, it's a scary time for farming in Dayton because the lure of the buck is big. It's big. And I can see a lot of farmers, a lot of old-time farmers just say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm gonna take the money and head to Florida. And then that could create a big problem for us. And the other side too, there's a big, I heard it over and over again, keeping the rural Dayton. But with all the MBTA line, regional push to sewer and water, the sewer will open up a lot of development as well. That if we're not careful, and it's gonna be hard, because there's a wave growing of young urban professionals that want more services. They want basically more services, which comes higher tax rate, right? And houses.
Once you build a road, that's it, it paves the way to all this other stuff.
That's why, having open space come in the near future is huge. Because some of that land, I'm sure they've got recommendations too. And then bringing those people to some table, say, hey, look, how are we gonna make this happen? Like trails. I mean, Trails has had a bumpy road. And they got a big victory at the last town meeting, so they can continue their feasibility study. So they'll be able to complete that trail. And there's some negotiations in the town to get a piece of land that would allow us some recreation or just simple open space from, not a developer, but a person in Somerset. So.
Just, does anybody else have any questions for John? Just want to thank you. I mean, the presence here is really, it's a lot of fresh air, actually. It's welcoming. It's nice to have you.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
I have a lot of energy too.
So the next item I had on the business was, and I guess I'm gonna have to reach out to Kevin Smith from the Open Space. We wanted to have them speak to us at the December meeting. So I'll have to discuss with them if they can come to our next meeting. Do we have to accommodate them with a date change to make that happen? But I don't know, so I'll reach out to Kevin this week and straighten that out. So although we should set up a next meeting date, you might want to have a way to make it subject to change. Yes, I know. Tonight, I'm sure was definitely my mistake. I mean, I apologize, particularly the board for that.
Mondays are pretty open in the town. That's why originally we picked the Monday.
So we can do that at the very end. We can pick the next meeting date. But also, two things. I think this is specifically around campus, but you had been in discussions with at least, I think it was one of the
Colby?
Colby, yeah.
Yes.
And then also
and One Connection.
One Connection. And we were going to try to set up a meeting with them where we could just kind of walk through with them what they're doing, what their needs are. It's kind of specifically
With
what we,
Colby?
I think with both of them, correct?
Okay. Because one of the things I was disappointed with last week, that we didn't do a tour. We went into a room, we sat and talked, but we didn't do a tour of the facility. So I think, not just this group, but I think maybe even some of the members of the board of selectmen would actually really like to do
Go
a
tour.
tour.
And I think Brett offered to help set up something, and
Well, they
That was
they visited the Board
Well, they have theirs, but I'm saying we should have our own. And one of the things that's really important for this group is for us to have our own identity. So I mean, and you have a great asset in Mike to help, but one of us should reach out to Colby and just, you know, make it happen. I just think it's important for this group here
Mm-hmm.
to have its own identity and to be respected and recognized as a legitimate group.
Would someone be interested in doing that? And Mike, maybe you can help us with the contact specifics, like phone address.
Yeah, like how,
Actually, you and I spoke, when you and I spoke last week, right, you were introducing me.
oh, yeah, like about one connection into Pure Oasis, yes.
Absolutely, if
Okay.
you want to put me in touch with them.
Okay, perfect.
We'll follow up.
One of the things that happened at our meeting, and Colby liked this, and this would be great if we could help set this up as well, is a meeting of Colby with, what's his
Who do you
name
want?
from One Connection?
Yeah, with Mike Fonseca from One Connection.
From One Connection, because Colby wasn't aware of Mike. He knew there was a business coming, and, you know, one develops and one sells. So it'd be nice if we could have broker a partnership between the two. So One Connection could buy their marijuana, or at least some of it, from a Dayton producer.
Yes. Homegrown, as they say.
Yes.
No sampling of the.
That sounds good. So I'll follow up with John on that. Perfect.
Let me ask you a question. I noticed that our representative Huckenslosh was here. I can't say his name properly, but he was here recently.
Friday, yep.
touring. And I was wondering if that would be something that this committee or commission should be aware of. When one of these.
I was not aware. So when I read it at the town of Dayton, I was like shocked.
Yeah, okay.
We're not even invited. So
Right,
it's not
right.
purpose, really.
That's what I would like to, suggest, if we believe that when we do get a political person in town, should someone from this commission
Do you want to take that?
attendance?
There was some discussion at the selectmen's meeting.
Yes.
And brought it up and requested it,
Yes,
and it was kind of like, well, we have so much space and so much time, he's gonna be here for like 90 minutes total.
Right.
In 3 different spots. And it was actually requested that we not piggyback on at that time because of that. But that's part of when you says, well, could we have a later date at least?
right, absolutely. I
Participate.
definitely, especially when we didn't actually do a tour. And some of the things that came to light in that meeting weren't readily known by planning board, weren't known by myself, weren't known by the chairman of the board of selectmen.
Yep.
And it's that they are looking for a multi-use facility, including potential for a restaurant, some other businesses, addition to what they already have. So there is that, if you see the inside, there is great potential for other businesses and what that can do for the town. And I haven't seen the room, it's supposed to be the one that Jim Agia was talking about.
Yeah, with the all open windows, I think it's in the back, and it was an old power generating facility, but it has like all glass open windows. It's supposed to be, yeah, like absolutely beautiful.
And Jim said, can you imagine the type of restaurant?
I think they have subsequently, this was the same planning board meeting that I was watching, where they approved Joe as our representative, but he was, someone from their lawyer, I believe, was.
Yes, yes.
was speaking, specifically around parking.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of wandered into like, let's do retail, and the planning board politely said, let's do one thing at a time here. Yeah, so.
That's not
But
fun.
they did wander into like, yes, we like retail, we like restaurants, we have a lot of plans. And the planning board just very close and said, this is all right now is industrial. What happened, I think you have to change, yeah.
Right, but there is,
Yeah, like it's actually a mixed use. It was actually confirmed to be, it's,
yes, should
No,
be.
it only choice.
What?
That's the only way is to have mixed.
My understanding was they misspoke at the planning board, and the woman who deals with it on a daily basis, Terry, corrected them.
I see.
Later on,
I see.
she's awesome, so, but they still have to get, you know, votes. And there's some work to be done there, 'cause that is kind of got ruffled as with us. Some people, you know, felt they
Just
should.
holding that looks like it was orchestrated.
Well, I don't want to get into the political side of it, but, you know, I think we have an opportunity to do something very positive. And how big it's going to be will depend on, you know, our planning and what we feel, and plus what Colby wants, how big he wants it to.
The next item is further items of discussion about that. So then, Mike, you actually bring up the budget for FY.
Yes.
23 actually, budget?
Yep.
22, yeah.
so yeah, like I went back and I looked at the old town budgets. So this year in FY '22, the Development Industrial Commission has a $0 budget. But then I went actually back to FY '20, fiscal year 2020. That was the last time the Development and Industrial Commission had a budget, and it was a budget of $1,000. And it, I'm trying to read these spreadsheet up, but it was broken down into $500 for professional and technical services, $250 for communications, and $250 for office supplies. And then the year before that, I will added, like you guys, like some folks may remember, the year before that in FY '19, the IDC had a budget of $7,100, but the budget was never spent.
7,100?
Yes. And I had, so of that 7,100 in FY '19, and I believe in FY '18, only $75 was spent out of the $7,100. So like it provided actually the rationale to bring that down to 1,000, and even 1,000 was very generous. And then it wasn't funded, the commission was not funded, I believe, in FY '21 and '22. So with the FY '23 budget process set to kick off, probably mid next month is where we're looking. Yeah, and the commission has an opportunity to weigh in, you know, like in assessing its budget needs and plans, like in FY '23. So it will have the opportunity, just like everyone else, yeah, to submit a proposed budget.
I wasn't there when we were spending more
Okay.
time, but my recollection is, other than brief discussion about brochures and printing business cards for the members, there were no items that people raised to spend the money on.
Okay.
And the one time that we did, which was to hire a consultant,
Yeah.
we had asked for an increase, and that was fine.
Okay.
But now we're talking about having some real access to consulting services.
Yes, and really having a focus, I think, too, you know?
So I mean, unless, with the exception of that, maybe we could be able to start also looking at out and move cost of that, but we will want.
Other things that I know we do not envious about was to put together a video of what font is about. I like to see that so that we have a media presentation that we can show businesses or investors. I remember in Taunton, they put it together, and that's how they moved General Dynamics. I was a part of the Taunton area, Taunton, task, Taunton area school. And we were going out and trying to solicit Fortune 500 companies for money, not just for task, but to commit to an education business collaborative. And we met with partner investments. They came in with all their suits. Before we did our presentation, we had to get up exactly. But they saw the video of what their reputation, their business, their schools, which were huge, even their sports programs. For the day we were literally working, really, at the state level, at the regional level. A lot of business people, they want really good things for their kids. So it's not just bringing the business in. A lot of the business leaders are going to live in your community. When we talk about just what General Dynamics did for the town, the movement created a whole community that ended up being Friedman Middle School and the Chamberlain Middle School, because all those workers were in the town. You have to sell the town, and a lot of times, these businesses, a lot of other towns are trying to sell themselves too. So now, they don't want to initially spend a lot of time. If you have a really nice deal that sells your town, they'll look at that and send the phone call. Hey, you come in.
So a really nice video on ER's web page, superintendent, nice video of schools.
That would help. We also have people beside themselves who have some IT background.
I think this is a great idea.
The fact that the schools have something that helps, if we can get
It's
that.
really nice, it's on the website, about all of the, current initiatives that have happened with, about, just, their new programs for the students within the high school. I was very impressed, about their preschool, the new preschool program. And I think even if we were to do something, obviously we would incorporate that, but they have partnerships too, and we don't even know about it. And I think we had talked about that, making connections with the school committee or the school administrators and finding out more about schools. We don't have that many. We have our 3 levels, but that's regionalized, so of course it doesn't include Rehoboth, but I think we do have a very impressive school district. And that's something that can certainly be highlighted. And
although I haven't seen it online, I'm guessing Andy probably has a video.
I don't know how I
Similar.
found it. I think it's on the DR website.
If we scoped it as such, is this something Serpent could help us with? Or would this would be?
Probably not with a video, we'd probably have to do that on our own, I'd say. That's just my gut, but.
Lauren is the IT director of the ag. I mean, what a showcase facility they have. A lot of people don't. I mean,
I don't know, I'm gonna say it was about maybe their energy conservation or something that the grant had written. And they brought in the, I'm sorry, it was on
solar.
they brought in the solar, working with, I believe they have like a infrastructure improvement plan or something that the superintendent and the school committee had developed. And,
The one thing we found in Taunton, a lot of businesses, education is huge. So having them come to the table, they
Mm-hmm.
look at that heavy.
Would, and I'm not putting you on the spot, Patty, would somebody, you want to, like, talk to Lauren before next meeting? And just see if it's something that, given her resources that she has at Aggie, that she could help us with. Obviously, there would be cost to the town too, but just that she's in
To
a
put together a
position to
video?
also put together, or,
They may already have one like too.
yeah, but I mean, for a
for
town,
our town.
Yeah.
expand it beyond Aggie, because like help us with the town-wide thing.
Reach out to
They
them,
might have their
ask, they may have some
offices, maybe able to
students.
assist in some way. Obviously, we have to kick in funds.
So like, and the only other thought I have, because we have our own cable committee here as well, like through Channel 9. Like, and I'm thinking like even as a way to engage and empower them in this effort too, if we invite them and see, if they have the capacity, if they can do the graphics, like any audio for it as well.
We need someone to narrate it.
Yeah, that's not gonna be me, just saying.
I narrated one, a video, I have a video that I made of my school, my last school that I was principal at, and, I have a very, people say I have a particular accent, if you will, and, they think I'm from New York. I'm actually a Rhode Islander, I don't know where, but when I was speaking, everyone said, wow, that doesn't even sound like you. I don't know if you just kind of go into this acting mode when you're presenting, but certainly, you know, I think that any one of us, it could be several people narrating different parts, even if we had a particular interest, you know, someone would go out and, you know, interview or speak to the school portion, someone else speak to, you know, the small business community and maybe open spaces and recreation, you know.
That's a
I mean,
good.
it's gotta be short,
Yep.
obviously, though, these videos, really, like anything more than 4 minutes, you've lost your audience, so that in and of itself takes a lot of creative energy and probably, you know, some planning sessions and brainstorming and then, orchestrating. It just takes a long time to make a little video.
So I'd be willing to do it, but if somebody else wants to volunteer to one, I think Lauren and our local, you know, cable access services
Yeah.
representative would be the two contacts. If one person wants to reach out to one, the other, one person reach out to the other, and maybe we can then start talking to them about how we pull this together, maybe without cost to the town.
So your contact, Pat, I mean,
Lauren?
Lauren,
Yeah,
Over
I
at
don't
Patty.
actually have the phone numbers of
Probably
our commission
Lauren.
members, I know we took it down at the last meeting.
Yeah, like I have it in a folder right here, like I will,
Yeah,
I'll send it out to everybody so everyone has it. I apologize.
yeah, I mean, basically, it's really free. It's more time and effort and energy. And editing and crafting, what, you know, the photographer needs you to tell them what it is you want.
Who would contact you with cable?
Up by Dave Marville. Yep,
Would somebody like to reach out to Dave?
I'm happy to. I talk to him all the time.
Okay, great, thank you.
So the question is, could they help? I'm not sure what I would say to Lauren, if would she be willing to work with someone over?
Yeah, like if I reach out to Dave first and then we can like understand and assess the capacity, like,
Of our own town.
yeah, like, and then we can go from there, like in Lauren, I think.
Next meeting. Anyway,
Yeah. So yeah, like I'll do that, I'll do that first internally, and then I'll connect with you, Patty, and then we'll,
Okay.
I come up with a plan.
And I should call her, we can do something.
Yes.
Now and I'll
Yep, yep.
Get that done before, or at least give her a heads up that the projects are thinking of working on and.
Any other comments on that?
Yes, I was wondering, we were talking about budget, we were talking about a video, which I think is an awesome idea. Would we need to have any money for it if we wanted to hire anybody that had money to take aerial pictures, like through drones and stuff like that? So where you could, over the down Berkeley Bridge, or over the Bristol Aggie, and over, by the.
How much money do we have?
We don't.
Right now, zero.
Zero, yeah.
Do we have anybody in our town with a helicopter
Last year.
Yeah.
So we have 0.
or a drone?
Or
Yeah,
a
drone.
Why don't you say?
So, but the only thing with the weather and with winter here too, like, I'm not actually like sure. I like a drone in the winter of like the Taunton River is the most appealing also, like, I mean, like.
Yeah, we might wanna wait till spring.
True.
We could have captured fall, but we're like.
Because I remember having watched a drone video of Dyken. It was beautiful. It was
Is it on our website?
doing fall.
Really?
Beautiful fall
I
colors.
mean, we can actually probably match this if we have permission. I don't know if we would have permission if it was a video created by.
YouTube.
Alright, that's
Find it
cool.
on YouTube and reach out to the research.
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome, Rafa.
Other items about budget related and future needs?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
The process in
Yep.
regards to formal submission is there.
So that is being, so there's gonna be worksheets, that, with the town accountant, I'm gonna be working on, like, an updating with her for FY '23. And we're gonna create the FY '23 workbook that is gonna actually include the individual worksheets for every department, board, and commission. Like, we actually, ironically, in FY '22, like, we deleted the worksheet for the IDC because it wasn't, like, actually anything happened. Like, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, like, we just have to bring it back live again because we're back live. But the process is probably by the end of December, we'll send out, like, everyone's worksheets to every department, board, and committee. So everyone will have it by the end of next month. Well, because like, a lot of the worksheets, we're gonna like, actually update with the expenditures halfway through the year as well, so they can, and we can see how every department is trending how every department is actually trending with their expenses as a way to inform the next fiscal year as well. So probably the end of December, beginning of January, we'll get that out to everybody. And then the boards and committees and departments will have really the month of January to put their budgets together and send those worksheets back to the town accountant and myself by the end of January, beginning of February-ish. And then we will go forward with the budget process. From there, like, I'll meet with the town accountant and a bunch of departments in the month of February. And then at the end of February through the first part of April, the board of the board of selectmen will make their recommendations, and then everything will go to the FinCom at the end of April. So that's.
We
Plus,
don't need
that's
to
a-
include grants or anything
No.
projected or,
No,
because we're not taking from town money. The town
Yes.
just manages that and.
yes, exactly, yep.
Other questions regarding finances? The next item is mission statement and potential name change. The name change has been brought up in the past. The mission statement was something new that was added. I think actually each committee is supposed to have a mission statement. We do not, because right now we have a stated one. I wasn't proposing that tonight we draft one. All I did was 5 minutes on Google and came up with a small number of towns, New England towns, and what their economic development mission statements are. So I'll pass this around, and in the next meeting or two, we can figure out what we'd like to have for a mission statement. So these are just ideas at this point.
Thank you, Dan.
If anybody wants to talk about, the idea in general as opposed to the specifics on that. And also the main thing.
Is there a question of whether or not they're allowed to change the names and?
Well, it's a legislative process, so we would have to request the change to the state.
In all these examples, I don't see the word industrial.
These are all economic.
Yeah.
I said it's 5 minutes on Google. It's going to on Google to get a lot more samples, but it's just a start.
So, there have been some communities that have changed it to business and economic development, business and economic development.
BED. I think it's bad enough to have DIC, come on.
All right, refresh my memory, what's our official name here?
The Dayton Industrial and Development Commission. It's a mouthful.
Just in the interest of time, I would just say, let's just review this and think about it and bring it up in the future.
The other thing, are we a commission or a committee?
The commission.
What's the difference? I can have a difference.
So, my understanding it's all, and I'll probably get crucified for saying this, Rafa, but it's all semantics. But I could be fundamentally wrong and I just don't know it yet, but someone's gonna tell me after watching this meeting.
I did, but I forget what the semantics were. It was very fine line between what the two mean, and I really was like, okay, I can't really tell the difference here too much, so I don't think there is much difference.
Commission to me sounds like they're what they call, whereas committees were like social community.
So, but Rafa, like as a member of the commission, you could be a commissioner.
That's true.
I forgot I was being, we were recording.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So yes, yes, in trouble.
The next item is minutes from October 18th. I know those were distributed earlier. Anybody have a chance to look at them? Any comments? If not, motion to approve the minutes from October 18th. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, so the minutes are approved. Public input, I don't think we have anybody on Zoom.
We don't, it's only us.
So the next last item would be setting our next meeting date, which I apologize for confusion over tonight's meeting date, and I really apologize for long. So we were originally the third Monday of the month, this is correct?
Originally the fourth.
Fourth, yes.
We changed it because of
Of October,
October.
yes.
So, if we were to stick with the fourth, I know December may be an issue because of all the holiday activity. Do we want to meet in December, and if so, do we want to pick a date?
I think we have to,
meet.
because things are gonna,
Yeah.
we've talked about it so much, and we got so much budget to do, and that grant and master plan.
Yeah, and the mission, I mean, Yeah, like actually organizing ourselves and defining who we are before we do anything. I mean, that's also important too.
So, looking at the calendar,
The third Monday is the 20th.
I know we have 2 members that are not present, but does anybody have any issues with the 20th? No. Okay, Sunday 20th. So, we just have to vote and meet on the 20th, correct? Yeah. So, somebody like to make a motion that we meet, our next meeting be December 20th?
I'll make a motion to move the meeting to next December 20th.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Guys have it. And for everyone's benefit this evening, I have an email all prepared that I just have to plug in the date and send, and they will be.
That is impressive.
No.
Could you confirm that
Yes,
with the end?
yes, absolutely.
You'll get to it before I.
So the email's been sent. And I entertain a motion to adjourn, unless there's any other business that you brought up.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
Well,
We're gonna use it.